Rachel Notley, the NDP Premier of Alberta, does not like the oil and gas industry, and her staff hates it. I mean, 10 out of 12 chiefs of staff in her government are outside Alberta. They're NDP mercenaries who have made their reputations attacking the oil and gas industry. Brian Topp, her own chief of staff, attacked the oil and gas industry when he ran the NDP campaign in BC. Graham Mitchell attacked the oil and gas industry when he ran a Toronto lobby group. But Rachel Notley doesn't actually know a lot about the oil and gas industry. Let me prove it to you with a couple of bizarre clips from Question Period this week. Here, let's start with one a couple days ago. Take a look.
Our position on the Keystone was that if we ship unprocessed bitumen to Texas, according to this government and to the American government, we will give tens of thousands of Alberta jobs to Texas, not to Albertans, and that's not what Albertans want to see.
Really? So Albertans don't want to see the export of diluted bitumen to the United States? They don't want to? Well, we have been shipping literally millions of barrels to the United States every day, for years. We are now the #1 source of oil exports to the United States, and Rachel Notley says we don't want to ship unrefined crude oil. What, does she think we should turn it all into gasoline up here? Does that even make market sense? And she thinks that Albertans want to stop the exports of crude oil. She says it's shipping tens of thousands of jobs down there. Does she not know that shipping crude oil to the United States is the source of hundreds of thousands of jobs? It just doesn't make any sense. But it got weirder the next day. Take a look at this.
We also need to do it within the context of understanding what's best for Alberta and ensuring that we retain the capacity to incent upgrading where possible.
So what she's saying is that she wants to keep the crude oil in Alberta and force the oil companies to refine it there, and saying we won't let you export it. You've got to refine it before we let you export it. That's what she's saying. Well, first of all, even if that made economic sense, which obviously no private sector company is investing billions of dollars in an upgrade or a refinery. This is a strange requirement that the NDP want politically. It's not what the market wants. But even if people were to say, all right, let's upgrade that oil in Alberta before we export it, that will take years. You don't just build an upgrade or a refinery. That would take years and billions of dollars. Rachel Notley is saying we will not even allow exports of oil until you refine it here, even though the world markets say they want crude oil. Here's something even stranger. Rachel Notley says she supports a couple of pipelines. She supports the Trans Mountain pipeline proposal to BC. She says, I don't know if I quite believe her, and she says she supports the Energy East pipeline that would go to New Brunswick. Now, I happen to support both of those pipelines. I support all pipelines. But hang on, both of those pipelines are for unrefined crude oil too. Why does Rachel Notley support shipping crude oil to Trans Mountain, which I support too, and to Energy East, which I support too, but she's against Keystone XL and she's against the Northern Gateway? It doesn't make sense. How about her rule that we have to keep it in Alberta to refine it? Why does she support refining it in New Brunswick, which Energy East would do? Why is she putting New Brunswick jobs ahead of Alberta jobs? By the way, I want that pipeline too. But there is no sense here until you realize that her chief advisors are not Albertans. Brian Topp, her own chief of staff from Toronto. Graham Mitchell, the chief of staff of Energy from Toronto. They don't care about Alberta jobs. They're thinking about their next NDP campaigns in other provinces, maybe for themselves as Brian Topp runs again. Here, let's show a quick clip of what Brian Topp really thinks about pipelines.
Getting fossil-fueled cars out of our cities. The comprehensive approach like that, we can tackle climate change, and it's got to be at the heart of our next government.
Yeah, he's a crackpot who wants to take cars off the road. Is it any surprise that Rachel Notley doesn't make any sense? Look, either you support exporting crude oil to the United States or you don't. That's what's made Canada rich. That's what's made Alberta rich. That's how we do it. The NDP saying they don't want to export crude oil is saying stop producing oil for 5 or 10 years while we build an upgrader. But the fact that they're approving some crude oil exports and not others shows they actually don't care about Alberta's interests. They're doing the NDP's interests run by other provinces. For TheRebel.media, I'm Ezra Levant.